guys, welcome back to Ronnie Rambles, episode 6. This week, I'm doing my first ever interview via Zoom with Aaron Adams, one of the co-founders of Deep Athletics, which happens to be the website I'm using to get my current workouts from. So I thought I would just have a candid conversation with Aaron, kind of ask some of the questions I had about his services, and hopefully it's something that maybe you were interested in if you're looking to kind of change up your workout routine or just get inspired and try something new. It's a great price point. He only charges $20 a month for monthly programs with up to 6 to 7 workouts a week. So without further ado, I'm going to hop right into it because it is a little bit longer. And here is my interview with Aaron Adams of Deep Athletics. Okay, so tell me about Deep Athletics and kind of just your elevator pitch, I guess, on what it's about and how you got started and kind of where you are, because I know you're in like the launch period, right?
Yeah. It's a very exciting time. So elevator pitch wise, it's a computer algorithm with a little bit of AI tied in that basically writes you athletic programming based on what you need for your own person. So the whole thing kind of stemmed was years ago when I was personalized programming for 20, 30 people. I realized really quickly that I was spending close to 20 hours a week writing workouts. And like, there's a point where you're at a personal trainer where you can either get more clients or charge more. And I felt bad about charging people more, as I normally do. So I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this so that I can keep my prices the same and basically take on more clients. And then I basically stopped doing personalized programming to make Deep. So I don't know how much that worked out, but that was the original intent, was that there's a cap on how much you can do as a human.
Right.
All personalized programming is basically checking a few boxes, getting a conceptual picture of what the athlete is, and then letting your mind kind of run through. So I did that. And then I also started noticing how many mistakes I was making. So forgetting equipment, forgetting exercises, ignoring certain things just because personally I don't like them.
Right.
And even if I wanted to like wall balls, hate wall balls, can't stand them. But that's not fair for every athlete that I'm programming. So I would try to put them in, but I also would forget it. Why? Because I hate wall balls.
Right. Well, because you're a human, right?
Yeah.
So basically you took kind of the approach you personally took as a human, putting together programming for people for their workouts, and you automated it because I'm sure there was a pattern you were going through when you were creating workouts for people. Like there's an algorithm you were following.
Yeah, internally.
Just internally, except the human component would say, forget to put wall balls in just because they weren't your favorite. So you were avoiding that. But and it's funny because I'm a programmer, so I always find it, once I got into working out and I talk to trainers and they always say programming, to me, programming means a different thing. Because I'm always like, yeah, well, I'm a programmer. And they're like, oh, you do workouts. I'm like, no, I mean, like I make websites. Like, so it's like a different, so but it's funny because they really are similar because you follow a path. There's like a list of rules that you kind of internally follow when you're creating workouts for people based on their goals, based on what they have available, based on their ability, based on, right. And then you put together workouts specifically for them. But if you so you're taking all of your knowledge out of your brain and automating it, basically.
Right. Which I thought would have been the easy part. And
no. I was going to say, I don't think that's easy at all. That's really hard.
Actually, learning different programming languages helped me a lot because of the organizational component. So like there has to be a reason why you're doing something. And a lot of times, like when I would ask coaches things, especially early on when we were like alpha testing this, talking to different coaches that we thought were really, really intelligent, good programmers, stuff like that. And we would say, well, okay, well, why did you choose this? And they were like, oh, because that's just the right thing to put in because you're doing this. Like, okay, that's a reason, but why? What
are they going to get out of it on the other side? Kind of
right.
thing.
And what parameters did you see as the inputs that then led you to say, we're going to do single arm dumbbell hang cleans or squat cleans or whatever it is?
Right.
Like, what led you to that? Why didn't you choose this or this or this or this? And then a lot of times we would get,
Because that's what you do.
yeah, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So like the fact that people, the funny part is like I thought that this algorithm was for me. And then very quickly I realized most people follow the same general rules. They just have like a little niche here, a little thing here that they like little tweaks based on a general idea because there's science out there that says like, hey, if you do this kind of program under these like certain situations, you're going to get better over time, just period, flat out.
Right.
And some programs work better than others, and that's fine. Like, but for the most part, they all follow this kind of framework. So once you understand that framework, right? Once you understand that entire like spider web of inputs and outputs and everything that's going in, it actually becomes really easy to tailor it to not just me, but to Ronnie or to Blake or to John or whoever it is. Like there's so many different things that you can do that are just really little tweaks within the same conceptual framework that's true.
Right. That makes sense. So so I'm ending week 2 of doing programming that your algorithm has been spitting out. So I think this is kind of cool because like I get to ask you questions and kind of give you insight since you are kind of still in the, I guess, would you consider yourself still in like an alpha phase? Like you're still,
beta now.
you're in beta now. So
a lot more users that we don't know.
Okay.
Which is fun.
Well, yeah, because it's, so I'll say like, so as someone who has been, I guess, discovering fitness at an older age and going down kind of like I would say like I just like to throw darts at a dartboard, like, oh, I'll try step class, oh, I'll try running, right? Oh, this like lifting, this sounds kind of fun, like, you know. And so that's what I've been doing, and I needed that phase, I think, in my own growth to adopt the habits and the lifestyle and the mentality of someone who moves and works out. And you know, it's like I went through those phases and became somebody now who's like interested in fitness, and you know, but I needed those phases to like adopt the habits. Now I think I'm about 7 years in. Well, I'm like 15 years in basically to like my life changes that I have made. And I'm at a point now, I'm also older. I have older kids and I don't have time. Right. So throwing darts at a dartboard and hoping things work isn't working for me anymore because I've adopted the mentality. I have the habits, and now I want to use my time wisely, and I want to get stronger or whatever you know, everyone has different goals. Some people want to lose weight or get stronger or get faster runner or be better condition, you know, whatever it might be. And so what I was attracted to is I'm like, okay, I mean, I know you from way back and I know, you know, your stuff. Right. So, and I kind of, you know, you've been talking about this algorithm for years. So I knew it was coming. And so when there was a chance for me to sign up, I was like, this is what I'm going to give this a try. And at the end of week 2, I have one more day of week 2. I will say it's exactly what I wanted. Is I feel like I'm going to the gym, I'm doing specific things for specific reasons for my specific goals, and I'm not wasting any time. And that's exactly where I want to be. And I think there's a lot of people out there who, once they know what their goals are, because a lot of people don't know how to even formulate their own goals. I was like that for a long time. I was like, well, I just want to be overall fit. Okay, great. That's cool.
What does fit mean?
Yeah, like what does that mean? Well, I say that with people in the weight loss realm because people are like, I want to be skinny. And I'm like, what does skinny really mean to you? Like I had to like find that into my own, because that's how I was. I was like, well, I just want to lose weight. Well, okay. Well, what does that look like? And what does it look like when you get there? And what does it, you know, like there's so many things, like, you know, I think when people have these goals, they don't really, formulating goals is a science of its own, I think.
Yeah.
But now I'm in my mid 40s. I'm not getting any younger. My bones aren't getting any stronger. Like I'm all about strength. I was like, I want to build strength. I want to maintain my muscle mass going into my 50s. I want to actually see if I have this kind of sidebar goal where it's like, I want to see how much I can build muscle when everyone else is losing it. Right? That sounds really weird.
No, it's kind of funny that you say that because I didn't know what your age was ever because I don't ask that. My mother taught me never to ask a woman her age. But so in the algorithm, we actually have something because I know that basically after 40, right, all the science shows is that you, like women over 40, especially that are perimenopausal or menopausal, are going to lose a lot of that bone density. And the best thing you can do, like the number one recommendation is load
Is it
bearing.
lift heavy? I was gonna say lift heavy, right?
But we actually have, like, if you notice, you put in your age on the intake form, and that scales you for your age. So if it notices that you're a female or you identify as female and that you're over 40, it's going to give you more load bearing exercises just based on that naturally, because that's
Right.
actually what you need in that age group, regardless of your goal. Because one of the things that I think people get sidetracked with when you were talking about goals and how hard it is like you can have a goal. The problem is that going full stop into that goal is not the answer. Because if you get hurt or something happens, you will not achieve that goal, or it will
Right.
be way later. So really, like, my goal as a coach to satisfy your goals as the athlete is to help you along that process in the best way possible, so that not only you flourish, but you flourish for a longer period of time.
So I still struggle with calling myself an athlete. And I think a lot of people who actually listen to my podcast would never call themselves an athlete. So do you think your program in Deep Athletics is for people who maybe don't identify as like Olympic lifters or power lifters or work, like these people, like I feel like people that are in that world, they self-identify like I'm a CrossFitter, I'm a runner, I'm this. But a
Yeah.
lot of people are uncomfortable like defining themselves as that because they have been telling themselves their whole life, I'm not an athlete, or I'm not a runner, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. So I know I'm going to assume that a lot of your initial clients are probably people who are already in this world. But what about people who are, say, you know, they've been trying to lose the same 30 pounds for 5 years, or they, they've never, you know, for me, like I know when I first started, like I never played a sport as a kid. I never did anything active in my 20s. Like I was the furthest away from where I am now, which is really funny. But I think something like this is really good for them because they would be doing workouts that are geared for them. So like, do you have clients that are kind of not your traditional quote unquote athletes?
Yeah, I
That
was
are,
actually most surprised when we started getting an influx of people that weren't people in our inner circle. Like we would get people from like West Virginia, and I would like do some like Facebook stalking, like who is this person? Like how do they find out? And I send emails like, hey, how'd you hear about us? Where are you from? Like what's the deal? And like, internet search, Google. I heard it from a friend of a friend who's from Virginia that knows you, but a lot of it was people with home gyms or no equipment at home. And like the best response I ever got was, I've been searching through Pinterest every day trying to find workouts, and it's basically the same single workout with the same 4 exercises, and I don't feel like I'm getting anything out of it, and I'm wasting an hour a day trying to find workouts to do, and it's killing my motivation. And it was like, well, this has like a goal, a target date. Like I can say, like, I have a vacation September, like this specific person, like I have a vacation the first week of September. Like I want to be in better shape this for this vacation. Like we're not getting another one because of COVID. I
mm-hmm.
need this, and I need to feel good about myself. I think they were going to like North Carolina. And I was surprised at how forthcoming people are with like their struggles. Like this is what, like, this person was really struggling with this. They did not want to feel that way anymore when they looked into the mirror or took a photo or anything like that. And it was really like kind of telling, like, man, they just want something to do at home that they have like a purpose. So for them, it was really important that they could check what equipment that they have, and they could pick a target date. They could stay where they felt comfortable with, like skill level wise. It was very accommodating for them to still get the results that they would get from doing functional fitness, but not having to actually go into a place, A, right now because of like COVID and everything, but B, like a lot of people are self-conscious walking into a functional fitness gym where they know they will get the results that they want. But there's a huge intimidation factor about walking in to a bunch of people that look like assholes with muscles.
This is true.
Like, yeah, like, and I mean, when I coach, I remember, when you remember me, when I first started coaching, I tried to be very
Inclusive.
open. yeah, loving, like, hey, like this isn't scary. Like, come on, let me show you. It's fine. And that's kind of what I wanted to be deep athletics. And even when we were picking out the name, I tried to think about that. Like, I want this to be not something that's like bam, boom, ha, ha, fitness, whoa. Like, no, like we settle down here. Like, this is where we're at. We're the root. We're like the deepest part. And then everything from that like comes forth.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the main goal of that whole like idea of it, was that this should be more inclusive than just CrossFitters or functional fitness or weightlifting or powerlifting. It's like, I just want to try it, and I don't really like, like, I just want to do something. I don't know what to do. Like, okay, well, here you go.
No, and I think a lot of people are in that realm. And I think, especially with the state of the world right now, like not going to gym is not is a reality for some. Like they just can't go to the gym, or they don't have equipment, or they don't want to for whatever reason. Um, and actually, to be frank, I actually thought about that. I was like, well, if I ever want to pull my membership now, I could just change my variables in Deep Athletic and say, okay, well, now I have this equipment. And
Yep.
so, and that was actually comforting to me in a weird, like it's last week on the podcast, I mentioned this, like I'm a plan A, B, C, D person. I need to have backup plans for myself. So I was like, well, if this doesn't work, I'll do this. If this doesn't work, that's how I kind of survive. So then I was like, well, this is great because now I have an option, because I do have a pull-up bar at home and I have a couple, barbell or dumbbells, and I have a box, so I have a handful of things, and I'm sure there's tons of things I could be doing that I don't, that
Yeah.
I just need someone to go, hey, have you thought about this, or put together this workout, which is exactly what I want. And so I think you're right in the, like for today, I feel like a service like yours is invaluable. And to be frank, the price point, you and I are, I think, very similar in I don't want to charge people for anything ever. Like it's just not how I'm a horrible business person.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I'm an entrepreneur, because I'm always starting, like I have Greenlight Bites and I'm starting to do recipes, and I used to blog, and I didn't mind taking money from businesses, so when I would get sponsorships, I'm like, yeah, give me your money. Like, go ahead, Palm or Reeboks or whatever you guys. But like when it came to, like, I used to host a fitness conference, like for 6 years, I hosted a conference. I hated charging for it. I never wanted to charge for it. I always wanted it paid via sponsors, because I feel like I want it to be inclusive and let people come. And that was my whole, that was like, I wanted to create this like fitness blogging conference that wasn't for fitness people. It was for like everyday people who
Yeah.
want to use technology and use blogging. And it's because for me, blogging was a huge way to be accountable, and it helped me kind of get over myself. Right. So, and if you open up those doors, right, people will change, and people will make positive changes. And that's kind of always been my thing. So it's great. And your price point, I think it's $20 a month, right, to get. So $20 a month, and you get 4-week long programs. Like, so well, people could put in their rest days, right? So let's talk about all the, I'm trying to you could correct me if I'm wrong. When I entered in the form, I put in like my age, the days I wanted to take rest days, what
Yep.
equipment I had,
Hmm.
what my goals were. And those goals, the choices I had were strength,
Yep.
overall
Always.
fitness.
Yep.
No, I don't remember the
Yep.
other two. There was two other ones.
Strength, general physical preparedness, Olympic weightlifting, gymnastics, and aerobic capacity.
Okay. So for people who don't know, Olympic lifting are basically focusing on the snatch and the clean and jerk.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of these are, so let me say first that these are all general physical preparedness
Mm-hmm.
templates. So it's all made to basically get you in shape. Whatever that shape is based on what you've chosen, that's the shape we're going for. Okay. So so Olympic weightlifting is basically the same program leaned more towards Olympic lifting. And that's what I was saying about those little like knobs basically that you can choose to kind of manipulate what's going on. And then the strength one is like, oh, we're going to lean more towards strength. And then you get like the gymnastics one, which is like, we're going to go way towards gymnastics. So like when I did it, I thought about like me, who's like a former Olympic weightlifter. Like, I want to do more Olympic lifting stuff, but I also need to get out of breath. Like, I hate it. I don't like it. I don't like running. I don't like doing it, but I know that I need it because I'm getting older. And then our friend Angel, who's like a former gymnast who also did Olympic lifting, she probably really wants to do muscle ups and stuff like stuff that she remembers from gymnastics. Well, everyone deserves something that they want to do, because what's going to happen is when you're doing that program, right? If you don't like every single thing on there, even though it's good for you, like you're not going to eat it, right? It's like my kids every day. Like you got to have one chicken nugget or something on there so that they eat everything else. But
Right.
yeah, so those are like the five goal oriented things. But yeah, and then you would do skill level.
All right, skill level. Oh, that's right. There was a level 1, 2, or 3 for skill level. Because I remember really that was one thing that I was like, it's probably a combination of my own ability to be honest with myself at my skill level, because I would probably always underestimate my skill level. But I struggled with picking. I think I picked level 2 for lifting and level 1 for gymnastics.
Mm-hmm.
Which is probably right, because I can kind of do a pull up. I can kind of do but I know I need a lot of work in those things. But what you said, actually, this is really helpful, because the one thing I was like, oh, I'm not really doing a lot of Olympic lifts right now in your programming. And I was like, oh, I kind of miss it. But I chose strength. So it's geared more towards strength. And so I was like, I can always change it then
Yep.
to Olympic lifting folks, knowing that I'm not going to only do Olympic lifts. They're just going to be sprinkled in more.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. I wasn't sure how that worked yet. So that's interesting. And you can change it up, right? So like, let's say after my 3, I think I put in a target date of 3 months, like, so in December, will there be natural tests built in the programming? Like, so I can actually monitor my own progress.
Yeah. So at the end of your cycle, that's when the testing week starts. So it'll give you a testing week that's basically like actually testing your parameters for what you put in. And it's not the same for everyone, and it's not the same every time. So that's kind of the thing I wanted to get away from is a lot of times gyms specifically and people choose like this is test. It's squatting, it's pressing, it's this, it's this, it's this. These are our measurables. Well, the cool thing is because I'm not a human and I don't need to have 5 measurables. I can have 105 measurables, or I can have 150 measurables. And all of those little different measurables give me little different bits of information. So if you take, for an example, a strict press, right? Well, if I can do a strict press at this weight, well, that'll give me information about how much you can dumbbell press with a single arm or 2 arms, or a kettlebell press. Or what about an inverted kettlebell press? So from a human standpoint, those are all things that are very, very difficult to comprehend and really put into the bucket that you want to put it into. But for a computer, it takes less than a second. It's
Right.
very, very quick and efficient, and it can say like, oh, well, we want to do an overhead pressing motion or something like that. So we're going to give you push press this time because you're doing your strength stuff, or strict press, you're doing your strength stuff. So then the next time you pick aerobic capacity, right? You want to do more, you want to work on your lung capacity, be able to run long distances, really like do all the things that you need to do, either going really fast or really slow over time. Well, then it might say, hey, grab that 20-pound dumbbell you got. Go ahead and do as many as you can on your right arm in 20 seconds or 30 seconds. And then what that does is that says, oh, well, we predicted based on what her strict press was and all this other stuff that she's been doing, that it's going to be this. And it wasn't. It was a little less than that. So, what's that tell us about that? So then that's where like being a computer beats being a human, because it can do it better and faster.
Well, and I would argue that having lots of different things to test versus I've worked with trainers that they have their portfolio of tests that they're going to go through. I feel like especially for people who are trying to adopt a habit, or they're not a natural person who works out, or it's something that they're kind of forcing themselves to do until it becomes adapted, is they need tests. They need to see progress. If you're not seeing progress, there's no, like, what kept me into running was that I was like, wow, last week I've only run a mile and now I'm running a mile and a half.
Yep.
Now or last time I did a 5K, I ran in 30 minutes. Now I just ran in 29. Those things for me personally it's what kept me going. So knowing that I could put in a focus into deep and then measure it and then see progress and then go, okay, well, I kind of accomplished that goal. Now I can set another goal. That's really powerful, I think, for people.
Yeah.
regardless of what level they're at, really. I mean, everybody likes to know they're getting better at stuff.
Success, man. It's the best thing you can do is have small successes. And I like telling my wife Megan this all the time. I'm like, because she has her own meal prep company, and I'm like, just set a target goal. Like, I want one new customer, or I want, and well, I want to, I want to have 500 new customers. Like, that's unrealistic. Don't do that. Like, that's setting yourself up for failure. Have small wins every single day.
Baby
And
steps.
yeah, like, if it's the same 1% thing, but everybody hears it, but nobody actually understands it. Like, that's the hard part, is like, well, like when you're doing those like 20 seconds on, 40 seconds off for the dumbbell cleans today,
Which I
right?
love, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, wait till they get to 40-20, and then it's not so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
But either way, it's like you're doing those, and it's like, okay, I got 16 today.
I got 10, but okay.
You got 10. So the next time those come up or something similar comes up, you're like, oh, I got 10 in that. I wonder if I can get 12. It's just two more, right? And then the next time you look at it and you're like, I wonder if I can get like 13 or 14, even just for one round, right? And then you get it for that. And then it's those things that slowly build your progress. And eventually, at one point, when you feel successful, you'll be like, I'm just going to do 15. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You're totally comfortable with that, where you're happy with. Like, those things are like, that's fit. That's why I got into fitness in the first place, was to see people achieve their goals, get those little wins over time, and then just like, you know what? Like, my favorite thing in the world is like, I don't want to do cleans anymore. Like, why? They hurt my body. I just don't feel good. Ugh. Awesome. You've clearly learned where you want to be at, and that's perfect.
Right. So one thing that I have learned over the years is to trust the process, which is hard for people to do because they think they're smarter. Everybody thinks they're smarter than it could be counting macros or counting calories or weightlifting, whatever it might be. People are, after a few days, they'll just go, nah, I don't want to. I'm like, no, trust the process, give it time and see the result. And so one of the things I'm trusting the process on, I think the only weight you asked me to enter in the program, if I remember, was my back squat number. Yeah. So I'm assuming most things are based on the back squat number. Now, I am the opposite of almost every woman I know. My lower body is weaker than my upper body. So I was like, and I'm fighting my own internal, like, well, maybe I should ask him if I should increase the upper body weight. Cause I think like right now, all of my dumbbell work has been with 25-pound dumbbells and like a lot of the upper body stuff. I'm like, I have more capacity in me to do heavier weights. Maybe I should be doing heavier weights. And I'm like, no, Ronnie, no. Trust the process. Yeah. So I'm fighting my own, my own kind of internal. So I have two questions. Like one is how you pick how the program, the algorithm works to kind of pick load for people and how much weight they're actually lifting, and how you should not change it. I'm assuming, like, I should not. I was like, no, I'm not going to modify this. I'm trusting the program. I'm going to do it as is, even though it might feel light right now. That's what I need, and I'll increase it over time. Like, so maybe you could just like talk to that a little bit, and kind of people who think they may be smarter than the algorithm, I guess.
Yeah. So over lots and lots and lots of math that was above my head that I had to relearn from like Calc 2 and all that. Basically what we found out is that a lot of stuff is based strictly off of your back squat, regardless of what you think. So a lot of people, and I like tested this like from like elite level CrossFitters all the way down to like people that were just randomly like one workout on Beyond the Whiteboard. I mean, like one single workout, and that's it. And it would be like, I would just take those as example avatars and then pop that in and kind of compare stuff and see where it was at. It was really like indicative that like, if you know your back squat, we can actually predict to a fairly like good degree about where you're at. Which I thought was like shocking, because I was like, no, we need it. And when I first started this, and I still think that we're going to eventually, once we're able to take inputs, so once you're able to put in the score from your workout, it'll get even more tailored to the individual. Right now, it's just like computer wise, that's really difficult, like from the webpage side, not from like the algorithm side. All that shit's built in. Sorry.
That's all right.
But basically, the whole point is that I thought that it was like, no, we need all these different variables, and we need people to know this, and it's true. Like it will give you a better answer. but it's like 2%, 3%.
Right. So the what do they call that? The margin of error is not. So I think a lot of people split up. I mean, just by nature of people who maybe work out or do weight training, there's always this upper lower body split that people arbitrarily like, and I say it all the time. I'm like, I'm stronger in my lower body than my upper body. So I feel like there's two variables that need to be taken into consideration. But then my other thought process was, well, maybe if I focus everything on my back squat, my lower body will catch up to my upper body and I'll be more well-rounded.
Yeah, I mean, also that sometimes it's like that's the hand you're dealt. Like I was never like dealt a hand of like very big muscles or big stature, but I was dealt a hand of quickness. So, well, what happens? Well, my strict press is disgustingly low. Just it's if you knew my back squat and then knew my strict press, you'd be like, that's not true. But it is like, I can have a 400 and something pound, whatever back squat, and my strict press can be like 110, 120.
My strict press is almost the same as my front squat. So, or back squat. I mean, really, they're not that different. So my shoulders and my upper body are way more, that's just how I'm built. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when you look at like different things that you're doing, so you're like, let's take the dumbbell cleans since you just did them today, right? So you're using like your leg, you're using your hips, you're using your shoulders to control the dumbbell. Okay, well, where did you feel it at? Did you feel it more in your legs or in your hips? Okay,
I actually did feel it in my legs. It's funny. I was like, as I was doing them, I'm like, wow, I'm really feeling my hamstrings and my glutes in these today.
Yeah, so it's like you're trying to take into account all of the things that you can, and whether or not you think that like maybe let's say we'll be generous. Let's say that the difference that it would give you is a 10% difference if you were to be able to put in your upper body and lower body. So even if that 10% difference is there, which would basically be instead of using a 20-pound dumbbell, let's say it's just using a 25. We'll round up. So now you're using a 25-pound dumbbell. Now what's going to happen? Are you going to be able to use your shoulders more? Are you going to fault to those? Are you going to still use your hips? Are you going to use better technique? Where are you at in the cycle? Are you further out in the cycle from your test date? Are you closer to it? Are you supposed to be doing heavier weights for that workout? Are you supposed to be doing lighter weights? Is it actually about building your legs and hips, or is it about building your shoulder strength and your upper body strength? Like there's a lot of different things that even the algorithm is thinking about, I guess.
Right.
But
yeah.
That I don't even know a lot of times. I'm like, why did it pick this workout? Like, what is it trying to do? And then you like go in and do some digging, like, oh, okay, this is a forced EMOM. You're never supposed to finish it. You're just not supposed to. I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. Because why? Well, when you're training and doing something, sometimes you need someone to say, I want you to do 25, knowing you're only going to do 20.
Yeah, no. That's funny because I was looking at my workout for tomorrow, and I think it's a 3-minute AMRAP, which for anybody who doesn't know, an AMRAP is as many rounds as possible. So I'm supposed to do all these exercises in order as many times as I can in 3 minutes. And the exercises, if I remember correctly, it's like lunging, rope climbs. It's like 3 or 4 things. I can't remember specifically right now. And I looked at it, I went, I don't even think I'm going to finish that in 3 minutes. But knowing that it's 3 minutes will make me go faster. And that's the stimulus of the workout. So again, this comes back to trusting the workout, right? Like I look at it and I'm like, I have to increase that time, or maybe I should decrease the load, or maybe I should take that one workout out. No, do it as prescribed.
Yeah.
And what it's forcing me to do is try to go faster, which for me, I'm the opposite of you. My strength is not speed. It's longevity.
Testing you to force your pace. So
yes.
instead of down and going low and slow, it's saying, no, speed up.
Right. And I need that. I need a trainer or someone to tell me to do that. Otherwise, like you said earlier, I'm just going to do what I'm comfortable with, which is a 45-minute like marathon of whatever, which is good for me too. But again, I'm at the stage where I'm like, I'm tired of throwing those darts and it's not working for me. I really want, I feel like I've been fairly stagnant in my strength gains. Of course, the pandemic threw everything for a wrench, but I've been going to CrossFit gyms now for 7 years. And yeah, and my progress those first 2 to 3 years, climbed up the ladder, of course I was starting from ground zero and coming in with no experience. And so everything was new. And every time I tested, I would be hitting PRs and doing stronger because I was really more learning my body than anything else. But then I kind of plateaued. And so now for me to get that same high, I guess, from like hitting a PR, like, I benched 5 pounds more than I did last time or whatever it might be. It's so much harder. And it's harder to stay in it. It's the same. I mean, I know you never probably struggled with your weight, but a lot of people, I think they lose weight and they'll diet or whatever. And what's keeping them going is seeing the scale drop, right? I'm dropping. Oh, it's working. Oh my gosh. And then it's like this momentum that takes over. But then what happens when they hit their either a plateau or they hit their goal? They can no longer feed on that energy. They can't feed on that accomplishment anymore. And then people regain the weight, right? Because they lost it. And then they go, I mean, I know personally hundreds of people that have done this cycle over and over again. And it's funny because it's the same, I think, for people who are trying to gain strength, but in the opposite way, right? If like after a while I'm unmotivated at the gym because I haven't seen any gains in my strength in 2 or 3 years. My lifts are the same. I'm running the mile the same. I'm like, why am I doing this? This is getting old. It's just like I'm a hamster on a wheel kind of thing. So
that too is the psychology of it. So this goes back to that same, like the coaches having those testing portfolios that they like. Well, if you're only testing your strict press and that's the only thing you're getting information back from, well, stop testing the strict press. Go test your single arm dumbbell press. Go test a supinated press. Go do a single arm barbell. I don't care. Do something stupid. Go test it and see what happens. Go test your handstand push-ups. That's an overhead shoulder strength. There you go. Right? So we're so used to saying like, well, what's my back squat? Well, who cares? What's your overhead squat? Have you tested that in a while? What about snatch balance? Have you done any? Why are we not testing all of these? Why are we only testing the one things that somebody says like, oh, that's the test?
My bench is pretty strong because I'm upper body dominant. So my husband always laughs because, we're in our 40s. So in the 90s, the bench press was the only mark of strength. I don't know. Like that's all people do. What do you bench? Like that was like the thing. So my husband always jokes now that I'm into fitness. He's like, you'd be killing it in the 90s right now. Like everybody were like, wow, her bench. And I'm like, but nobody cares about bench press anymore because CrossFit kind of changed the landscape. And now everybody's like back squat. And I'm like, dude, my back squat is really weak. Like,
can we imagine
funny.
Like, I remember that. I remember telling people I was an Olympic weightlifter, and this was in like 2002 or something like that. And they're like, oh, what do you bench? I'm like, have you ever watched the Olympics? And they're like, yeah, but like, what do you bench though? I'm like, we don't bench. And they're like, right, but but what do you bench? I'm like, I literally have never benched in my entire life.
That's the mark of like strength, I guess back then. It's funny how it's
300. Like, no, you don't. Like, oh, okay, cool.
It culturally changes over time. Okay, I actually jotted down a few questions, so let me make sure I covered everything. Because I had my own personal reasons why I wanted to bring you on, just so I could chat with you because I haven't seen you in a while.
I know.
But also because you're doing this, and I really do think people, your price point is fantastic, and I think a lot of people who are looking for something new and some motivation to kind of start moving more, I really think this is a great option for them. So, okay, we talked about the focuses because that was one of my questions, so that's great.
Yeah.
We talked about testing, which was my other question, which is great. I told you, we'll just have a conversation and it'll all come out. Yeah. Okay, so I do have 2 other things that I jotted down that I think would be useful for people who listen. Yeah. So I do have 7 years of CrossFit experience, and I'm one of those people now that go to the gym, and I'm like, to be frank, I look at the coach and I'm like, I've been doing this longer than you. Like sometimes I'm just like, no, that's not the proper scale for me. I know my body, and I'm now at a point in an age where I'm not afraid to go, no, I'm going to hurt myself doing it that way. I'm going to do it this way. But not everybody has that confidence nor experience. So what happens if they sign up and they get a workout and they're like, I don't know how to do this, or I can't, so for example, one of my workouts last week had like 10 strict pull-ups. I can't do strict pull-ups. I mean, I can do 1 or 2, but there's no way I'm going to do rounds of 10 strict pull-ups.
Right. Yeah.
And so for me, I use the band and I offset my weight and I still did the strict movement. So like, how will someone who's maybe less inexperienced be able to look at a workout? And I wouldn't want them to get like scared off because they see something and they're like, oh, I can't do that one thing. So like, how would you advise people to kind of scale, or is there a resource they can use that helps them scale?
Yeah. So first of all, we actually have a solution for that built into the algorithm. It's just really cumbersome right now. So the issue becomes is like, you would say like, oh, well, I can do all of these things, but I can't do pull-ups and I can't do dips, right? Like I can't do those in Metcons like all the way through, but I can do them like for a strength exercise because I can get a couple of them together. So there's like this weird gray area that a lot of people come into, and we have solutions for that. So we have like, we actually have a gym option for like, so if like your gym wanted to sign up and have like general workouts for everybody, that has scaling levels underneath of it. So it would say, okay, well, it's pull-ups for this, it's jumping pull-ups under here, banded pull-ups under that, and underneath that, it's seated pull-ups, where you're just sitting down and just pulling your upper body up. So we have that option, and it's in there. It's just kind of like tweaking it for each person, because like some people are up here, some people are down here in this exercise, but then in this exercise they're over here, and it's like, it's very like I was saying, it's cumbersome. So it's trying to figure out an elegant solution for that for everyone so that it doesn't look like absolute crap on the internet. That's like the biggest trouble.
It's a big challenge.
Yeah. The other thing I would say is immediately type the exercise in and add scale, and you will get a plethora. Central Athlete has a YouTube channel that is amazing. I go to that. I mean, most of our exercises, if you type in how to do them on YouTube, Central Athlete comes up immediately as like the number one thing. And they're a really good resource on YouTube. There's also, if anytime you trust someone, we actually have 2 users that take our workouts from Deep. They go to their gym, they're in the South that have open gyms right now. they set down the workout for their trainer and they say, here are my workouts for the week. I want you to tell me what I want, like how to do these. And that's their personal training session. So they're paying someone rather than trying to pay them off hours to write those workouts and stuff like that. They're like, hey, you, just show me how to do this. Show me how to do this. I can't do this. Show me what I can do instead. But just the internet is a great resource. Like all you have to do is type in pull-up scale and you'll get 15, 20, 30 different types of exercises that you can do. The other thing I would say is be honest with yourself. More often than not, when we see people put in their skills as far as like gymnastics and Olympic lifting, and this is just like a blanket statement, men put in way too high of a skill level and women put in way too low.
Underestimate.
Yeah. And I've said this to you before when I've coached you, like women are stronger than they think they are and men are not.
I see it. No, I can see it at the gym all the time. We actually had bets on who was going to come back after the after the closures and who was going to hurt themselves. And I'm like, so-and-so is going to hurt themselves because they haven't been lifting for like 3 or 4 months. And I'm like, they're going to come back and think they could pick up right where they left off and like throw all this weight on the bar. Yeah, no, it's true. Most of the guys at my gym, they do, you know, they'll miss. I was just having this conversation. They'll miss a 1 rep, like PR attempt, and then they'll add more weight. And I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, I would be peeling weight off.
I know very few people in my life, and that's like Olympians, that have missed a weight and been like, I know why I missed it, put more weight on the bar, I'm fine. And that's like a level of virtuosity that I don't think people quite understand. Like people
that's
are like,
probably 10 years of experience too. Like that's
longer. Like, I mean, some of these guys, I'm like, I look at some of them and I'm like, not only did they miss it, they missed it poorly, and they're going to add weight because they know how to make it. Whereas like Johnny down the street, who's been doing CrossFit for 5 years, you know, and he's like, I know why I missed it. I'm not strong enough yet. I need to try harder. Like that is the wrong answer every single time. Like
it's funny.
Yeah. But so that's,
crazy.
I would say just being honest with where you are in your skill levels is a big step in the right direction. Because you won't get a lot of those more complex, complicated exercises. So again, like if you're choosing just level 1 skill stuff, these are like basic exercises. I mean, air squatting, push-ups, sit-ups, stuff like that. And like you were talking the other day about hand release push-ups versus push-ups, like it's that pressing away. That's all we're trying to get.
Almost every time I have I'm okay doing push-ups for strength, like you said. Like if I had a 20-second on, 40-second off, or a Tabata or something, push-ups, I can maintain my push-ups. But if you tell me I have to do 10, 15, 20 in a Metcon, in a workout for 5 rounds, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to maintain. There's no way I'm going to maintain the level of speed I need for like the cardio capacity if I slow down and actually try to do strict push-ups. So I just collapse at the bottom, push back up, collapse at the bottom, push back up. And I've been doing that most of my career as a workout person. But yeah, so I think the only thing I've had to modify so far was pull-ups and dips. Like I had bar dips today, and I'm lucky because my gym does have like one of those attachments that I can dip.
The dip bar, yeah.
Yeah, and so I can't do them free. Like I first set it up too high, and then I was like, yeah, though I'm not going to be able to do 8 of these. So I lowered it, and I actually didn't jump. I had my feet on the ground, and I would use all upper body to push up, and then just try to do a slow negative down. And
Yeah.
so, but again, I'm really comfortable. Like I know that a negative is strength building. I know just based on. I mean, that's how I got to be able to do a couple pull-ups. Like I know I just have that experience now, but I know a lot of other people might kind of almost use, because I know I always think of old me. I would have used the fact that I couldn't do a workout as a reason not to do the workout instead of researching a way to scale it and make it appropriate for me and then just moving on and, going to the next day kind of thing.
If you're willing to spend 30 minutes on Pinterest looking for a workout, you should be well within your reason to do 10 minutes, look up how to do something a little bit better too. But yeah, that's all in the actual pipeline of the scaling options. And I do want to pick up on one thing that you said is that your upper body is super strong. Like your upper body is like the strongest part of your body yet. Hand release push-ups, but you can bench a lot. Dips, but I need right. So now we're starting to look at like, oh well, is it all upper body strength? Is it truly that my upper body is stronger, or it's stronger in these certain situations?
Oh, it's definitely stronger in these certain situations. I'm stronger with a barbell than I am at gymnastics. Like my own, I have a hard time. And actually, I probably should set a gymnastics focus because it is a weakness, which is probably another thing. Like, I feel like I'm at a level where I am trying to focus in on goals. Like, I'm experienced enough to go, I'm weak in that. That's probably what I should set my goal in. But let's say somebody who's just starting out and, maybe they're 35, 40 pounds overweight and they're looking for workouts and they're trying to change their diet. Like, what focus do you think that they should use?
Yeah, general physical preparedness is probably the best way to go for anyone. If you do a GPP program, I mean, even if you just look them up again on Pinterest, I've been on a Pinterest kick lately, man. It's quarantine. If you look on Pinterest for GPP stuff, like GPP training, you're going to get good stuff because it's not really like pipelined into like, this is for strength, this is a booty blast, this is your abs. GPP generally is like saying like, we're trying to use your entire body. We're not really trying to like focus on one thing and get that, like, we're worried about you as you from like top down, superficial to deep. So it's not really just about like, I want to get this booty blast, or I need to do some abs, or I need to do this. It's like, no, we want you to be generally physically prepared to do something. Like if you all of a sudden need to go outside today because a tree fell down, or tomorrow, I guess, and a tree fell down in a storm or something like that. Well, if you can't handle a chainsaw or move around this tree or something like that, that's not good for humans. Right? Like a general physical preparedness is good for almost anyone. And again, even that kind of focus will then tailor that algorithm based on you. So then it sees like, oh, you have a level 1 skill, like in both Olympic lifting and strength. You don't really have a whole lot of equipment. Your back squat's lower. You're 30 to 40 or 40 or 50 years old. And then, it's going to look at that and be like, oh, okay, like I can see what I can put this avatar kind of into this little zone here. Let's make them work around in here and see what happens. As opposed to saying like, I'm going to make this person like the greatest CrossFitter ever in 10 years and they're 45. Like, what good is that? Right? Like, this is supposed to be based on who you are, so personalized. So if it's truly personalized, it should be able to take in all of these factors that you put in as inputs and then say based on that, like, oh, this is probably what they need. As opposed to saying like, and I get this with coaches all the time where it's like, I can sit there as an athlete and tell a coach, like, I just want to be good. Like, I don't want to do all this crazy stuff. I'm not trying to make it to the CrossFit games. I'm not trying to go to nationals for weightlifting. I just want to work out and feel okay. Guaranteed, they're going to look at me and be like, he's a 3-time national weightlifting champion. He's lying. He wants to be a winner. Like, no, I don't. Now you're putting your little thing that's going on in your head onto me that I don't want.
It's funny. I have a similar story. Well, every trainer that I've ever worked with outside of the CrossFit, like these are like Globo gym trainers, like non-CrossFit trainers. One of the things that always bugged me was they were like, well, what are your goals? And my goal, I was like, well, I want to be fitter. Like, I want to be better. Right. I want to not get winded when I walk up the stairs, and I want to be able to lift up my kids. Right. But they always were aesthetically focused. Like if, a trainer at say like Golds or whatever, I don't even know, LA Fitness, or they're always like, well, no. Well, what are your goals? Like, do you want like thinner arms or a bigger butt or like and I was like, no, I don't want to think aesthetics. So I feel like it's like there's two ends there. There's like the athletic driven goal trainer, and then there's like the aesthetic goal trainer. And it was always a turnoff for me when I went to like say a step class or spinning class, and the coach or whoever was leading the class was always like using aesthetics as a means to like get people to work harder. Like, imagine what you're going to look like in that bathing suit. And I'm like, oh, shut up. I don't want to think about it. That has never worked for me. And I think for a lot of women, I've gone to blows with people online about this. I'm like, you need to stop focusing on aesthetic goals. I said it doesn't work for, I mean, I know there's a small percentage of population it works for. I mean, there's bodybuilders, right? That's what they're all about, the aesthetic goal. But I think for the everyday person, like the mom trying to lose her baby weight, or the person who's been carrying around an extra 20 pounds most of their life, it's a recipe for disaster to tell them, I'll get you, looking like so-and-so at the end of 3 months, or I'll get you, it's like one of my pet peeves, because I feel like
that's that trainer putting that onto someone else. I'm going to get you like Vanessa Hudgens. I don't even know if that's even a good comparison, but I'm going to get you to look like this star. Well, A, I never told you I wanted to look like that star. And B, I never told you I wanted to look anyway. I wanted to be fitter. And that's the big thing with trainers is like what you learn pigeonholes you into what you will do for your client. And that's the problem, is that if you're truly like virtuoso at training, if someone comes to you and says, I want a bigger butt, you can do that. That's fine. There is nothing wrong with an aesthetic goal. I want bigger arms. Okay, that's fine. Here's the recipe for that. Do I think it's the best thing for you? No. But if that's what you want as your trainer, I'm complied to then give you what you want. But what bothers me so much is like when someone's like, oh, you want thinner, you want this, you want this, you want this. Like, no, I want to be fitter. And then there is no follow-up question. There is no, what does fit mean to you? I mean, that was the whole point of building deep, was like, a lot of these coaches know the movements. They know how to do a pistol. They know how to do a clean and jerk. They know all these things to do, but they don't have the time or the knowledge to build these programs to help someone along that way. I mean, how hard is it to learn how to do a dip properly? A 5-minute video? It's not this like big fanciful thing that you need to spend thousands and thousands of dollars learning. Like, it actually is really simple. Like, you can use this algorithm basically, and it'll do it for you. And then you get to be a coach instead of being a programmer sitting behind a computer for 20 hours a week, and then actually being able to see your clients, which is what you wanted to do in the first place. So that was my whole like reasoning behind it.
So, and is your, are most people that are signing up now, they're individuals though, right? Like they're people who are like me, they're like, I just a person, or do you have more trainers actually signing up and then using it for gyms? You're doing both.
Yeah. So right now, most of like the users that I'll be talking about, or that I have talked about, are with that individual basis. So that's like people that just want to work out. They have the home gyms. They basically, when everything closed down, they didn't want to have to pay $150 to $200 to their basic gym to get general programming that they're then going to have to scale for themselves, and then like make all these adjustments because they don't have a rower and they don't have this, and that was pointless for them.
Well, yeah, and that's what attracted me to CrossFit in the first place, was I would walk in and they would tell me what to do. right? So I didn't want to think about it anymore. And that's kind of what Deep is doing is I don't want to think about it anymore. On Saturday, I get my little PDF and I don't have to think about what I'm doing. I can look at it. Oh, that's what I'm doing today. Great. So like for me as a mom, like I had to justify when I first signed up for CrossFit like 7 years ago to my husband, the cost, because it is more expensive than a traditional gym membership. And I was like, look, it is the only aspect of my life where I walk into the gym and someone just tells me what to do. And I don't need to think about it. I don't need to think about why I'm doing what I'm doing. I don't need to just do it. So you're telling me like Deep is doing that for like $20 a month. And I'm like, yes, I don't want to think about this. I don't want to like Pinterest workouts and look. And again, and then you're sifting through crappy workouts that are butt focused or arm focused or whatever. And I'm like, no. I want to, and I'm tired of thinking about this. I just want someone to tell me what to do. And I want to see results. And I have too many other variables in my life that I'm dealing with. So I have one more question. I have one more question for people who would be totally new to this. So when I filled out the questionnaire, like I said, I struggled a little bit with the levels. I actually think I probably leveled myself correctly based on the last 2 weeks of workouts. But what if they don't know their back squat number? But body weight?
Yep. Through a lot of studies, let's just say you walk into the gym, like there's a 90% confidence interval that doing nothing your entire life and that you're fairly like you're not like really high on that BMI scale, you're gonna be able to squat your body weight. It's almost like so simple it doesn't make sense sometimes. Like that's it. Just put in your body weight. Just put in your body weight.
Isn't that what the cool thing about science though? Like you as a human thought you knew better.
Every time. That's what heuristics, man. I know better because I've seen better. Well, no, like a lot of times now when Dave and I have conversations about this, he'll ask me a question and I say, I think I know the answer. I know that I don't.
Okay, so I'm going to link to Deep Athletics if that's okay for people who want to go check it out. Right now, you cannot input results of workouts and things like that so that it's tailoring. Do you have a timeline on that, or is that like pie in the sky right now? Or are you like currently working on it?
No, so that's like I think that's like 5th or 6th in our like checklist of things to do. But we're looking at next year, so late next year, something like that. My son,
that was it. That's the time. That's our cue to wrap it up. That's fantastic.
We're hoping to put that out, and then we're going to be pumping out features probably every month or two. So if you sign up now, just be prepared for like, oh, like this is new. Oh, this is new. Oh, this is new. It's like we're trying to do the same thing that gyms should do, which is bring new equipment into the gym every single month. We're trying to do that with features. We're trying to bring those things in so that you always have a pretty new object to look at.
That's awesome. Okay, I'm going to link. But it is deepathletics.com, right? Is it?
Yep. Deepathletics.com.
And you're on Facebook and you're on Instagram. And so I'll link to those as well in the post. So people who want to go check you out, they can. And is there anything you want to, I don't know, any last minute messages for people you want to share or insight?
Oh, I love you guys just for being here.
That's awesome. Thank you.